It's time for your Talk Time Live exclusive.
You are now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge.
2024 marks the return of the legendary game known as Contra. What makes this extra special is that it's being developed by none other than WayForward Technologies, known for developing such fan favorites as DuckTales Remastered, Shantae, and, of course, River City Girls, and much, much more. Now, they are developing the next chapter in the cult classic series known as Contra Operation Galuga. With me today is Tomm Hulett, who will give me the insight on what's going on, or at least hopefully give me the insight on what's going on, and details about the game and much more. Folks, please welcome Tomm to Talk Time Live exclusive. Tomm, how are you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing great today, thanks.
So, before we get into details of Operation Galuga, I want to ask you about the road that led up to this. So, you worked for Konami Digital Entertainment, working on Contra 4 and other known titles, but since then you transitioned over to WayForward, now working on the new addition to this series. How did this all come about?
Well, like you said, it all started back when I was at Konami, and we were pitching Contra 4 internally. It was actually one of the first games I pitched when I started there, along with Simon Lai, who was the co-producer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd played Shantae and previous WayForward games, and the head of production just came to me and was like, "Hey, do you know this WayForward company? They sent us some demos. Should we talk to them about this project?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Do I know WayForward?"
and this was 2006, so it's like, who else are you going to pick to do a 2D sprite-based Contra game? So
Perfect for 'em.
Yeah, exactly. And that worked out great. And I met all the WayForward people, and they were great to work with, and it's just a great vibe, and the type of game I wanted to make since I was a kid. And so then, a couple years later, WayForward approached me and said, "Hey, we have a director spot opening up. We liked working with you. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah." So at the time, Simon Lai actually came over from Konami with me as my producer for a while, and I'm a director at WayForward. And then, since then, I've been doing various games. I did a game a couple years ago called Spider Soars, which is
Yes,
very similar
familiar with that.
very similar to Contra, you might say.
It's beautiful.
And,
Actually, I love the art direction of that too.
Yeah, it was a cool looking game. And that was my first original WayForward branded product. So it's cool that it was Contra style, but it was its own unique game that I got to help shape. But yeah, then Konami was looking to do another true Contra game.
Yeah.
And they thought of WayForward, and they approached us and said, "Hey, would you guys pitch what you would do for a new 2D, like 2D gameplay?
Yeah.
But like, what is it in 2024? What's Contra look like?" And so, I got to pitch that, and they liked what we did, and here we are.
So you unofficially became liaison.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Between the two. So as far as the story goes, can you give us a quick synopsis on what the story of this game is going to be about?
Yeah, so story-wise, it's kind of a reboot back from the start of the very beginning of the Contra series, which is Bill and Lance are in the Contra unit. They're like the greatest soldiers on Earth. And there's this weird disturbance on Galuga Island, or the Galuga Archipelago, but the main island, so Galuga Island. And there's this terrorist organization stationed there called Red Falcon, and they've been broadcasting out some threats. And the Contra unit did some scans of the area, and they found some weird gravity waves, which is unusual. So they were like, "We got to get Bill and Lance on this," and you drop in, and that's where you pick up the game.
Awesome. Very, very 80s, which I always love. You got to keep it. You got to keep it retro.
Keep it real.
So WayForward is also known for being the masters of retro games and knowing how they really know how to home in the nostalgia factor of these games. What can we expect from Contra Operation Galuga?
Well, it's going to feel very authentic to the old Contra games. We did the same thing with Contra 4, but we really went back and looked at the original game, as well. The very first 8-bit Contra and the arcade version, and then the 16-bit games, Alien Wars and Hardcore, and what does a Contra jump feel like? How do the weapons work? Again, we did it once before. we did a similar exercise on Spider Swords, but it was like, let's get it all right. But
Right.
then also, like, what does that mean in 2024? Like,
Right.
how do we advance it without losing? There's these key elements. They have to be there. But
Yeah.
how can we advance it to the present day? Make it interesting for veterans. Make it compelling for newcomers that have maybe never played a run and gun.
Right.
So it's kind of an advertisement of like, well, hey, this game's 2D, but here's why you would like that. Like, here's why it's still
Right.
cool, and here's why it's still relevant. And then hopefully that all came together in an awesome game. But we want the Konami's big points were it has to be a true Contra game for the veteran players, but it can't just be for them. It has to be compelling for newcomers. It has to be welcoming. So that was on the top of our mind when we were making all these decisions. It's like it's gotta be great for both groups.
Right. Welcoming is a good word, and I'm gonna get back to that in a few. But will there be any? Will there be any like new features added to the core gameplay?
Yeah. So the key thing we have. So any veteran gamers, here's where you want to pay attention because we're figuring out the gameplay. And this is what was in our pitch. This is what I'd kind of thought of it before they asked. Honestly, it was like, what would I do in a new Contra game? And then I was fortunate enough they asked. It's called the overload system. So you pick up weapons just like Contra. You got your spread shot, you got your homing, you got your flamethrower.
Yeah.
And then like Contra 4, if you pick it up a second time, it stacks. It does a new thing or it's more powerful. So you want to hold on to it. You want to save your favorite weapon to power it up, and then you just use it and feel powerful.
Right.
But then on top of that, a new strategy is you can overload any weapon in the game, which means like it detonates, but there's a cool effect. Like sometimes it's a big screen kill, and you wipe all the enemies out. Sometimes it's like slow motion, like all the enemies slow down, and then you can zoom around.
So each gun provides a different feature,
gun
much
has
like
its
it does.
Feature. So now you've got a new strategy. Now, if you're in trouble, even though you have your favorite weapon, you might get rid of that weapon because it might be the difference between dying, or you might save your second slot for like just for this purpose. Like I got my favorite weapon, and then I gotta have my overload ready when I need it. So it just adds a really cool strategic complexity, and it lets the player improvise, which I think is a big Contra element.
Right.
Like a core to the Contra experience.
It does sound like it provides that type of a new strategy, a new element, if you will. Like it's an EMP for aliens.
Exactly. But it gives you freedom to use it.
Yeah.
And it's not just like in Contra 3 on the Super Nintendo, you got your smart bombs, but everyone just saves those for the boss and then just goes through, here's my 9 smart bombs, do, which it feels good to do, but it's not strategic or interesting. So I really wanted to get something a little more strategic.
Awesome. Now, with that said, there was something that was like both near and dear and annoying to me back in the old NES days. And I'm wondering if this is going to come back, and that was Crossfire.
Yep.
Will we have the ability to put Crossfire to take out your own player by mistake and gain their lives?
You can't shoot your buddy. Bullets will go right through him because there's a lot of bullets.
Right.
But if you are dead, you can steal his life. So if you're if you
go
lives,
the vertical stages,
and you're right, and you can scroll him off a vertical stage, but instead of killing you, it'll just damage you. So it's a little bit. You got a little more.
There's more fairness.
Or if you're the older brother, you got a little more time before you get punched in the arm.
Right. Because I think everybody who's played the NES versions went through this with their family members or friends. And if you say something stupid during the process of your team up and your co-op, you're risking your chance to lose a life in that stage. It's both fun and annoying at the same time, but it's just legendary.
Yep. So we kept
that's one of the biggest memories. Yeah.
We made it a little less annoying.
Fair enough. So with your directing, what was the most important factor to making sure the story, character, stages, and action maintain the consistency that will maintain players' enjoyment throughout the game?
That's a good one. It's really making sure that there's a ramp up of I get like the difficulty has to ramp up, right? It's got to get harder the further you go. Obviously, that's how games are built. but
Mhm.
also that we're kind of teaching the player.
Yeah.
So if you master a boss, you're not just mastering that boss. You're like picking up on the language of the game, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I see that. Like you can use a weapon this way, and then
Mhm.
the next boss might, if you do that, he might attack you. So you're like, okay, I can't rely on that. I
Right.
gotta up my game a little bit, but I want to because the game isn't like just pounding me down. Like,
Right.
um, I think like FromSoft games have reached this point. Like Elden Ring is the reason everyone jumped on From games because it like it hits you hard up front, right? But you can learn like, oh wait, if I do this, okay, and then that's
Yeah.
why you had people beating Elden Ring and then going on playing Sekiro or Bloodborne or Dark
Right.
Souls because they felt like, oh, I get it now,
Yeah.
and so that's what I was really trying to provide, directing Contra is like, I gotta hit that sweet spot so that it's a true Contra game. You're gonna beat
Right.
it and feel like I did it. I beat a real Contra game, but we got to get you to that point. I want everyone to beat it, and then to set it to hard and keep playing it and go like, okay, now that I beat it once, I'm gonna like master it or whatever. Like that, I
Right.
really want people to get there, just because I think it's good for the run and gun genre. There's not a lot of them left, and we
Right.
need people to get it. Like, oh, I see. Like this is cool and fun, and I want more of these.
Right. And again, that's where this is the time where I'm going to bring back the word welcoming. And you mentioned Elden Rings and other Dark Souls games like that. You know, I've been having this discussion on my show and other shows for quite some time regarding how games should be played. I often say that, gamers should, have the option of how they want to play the game. Like we've had some developers like Bandai Namco and other, I have a library of games that just beats me down with Timberland boots on and just stomp me to the ground. And I've never been able to, like, there is a story in here, isn't it? It's like, but no, you can't get to it because it's just, you got to challenge yourself. And without trying to throw the proverbial controller into the screen. And, but you have people who like force people to take, to have this difficulty level, but there are other companies that will allow you to have your fun with it the way that you want to, whether you want to join a story or you just want to, and eventually you'll want to level up to challenge yourself because you're enjoying it that much. Where do you stand on that philosophy and situation?
Like if people compare Contra 4 to this game, I think they'll see kind of my development there because Contra 4, you couldn't beat the game on easy. It would
Yeah.
stop at stage 6. Stage 6? I think it was 6 or 7. It would
Hmm.
stop. And it would be like, hey, play normal and you can see the rest of the game.
Hmm.
And that was purely my decision. Like people
Hmm.
disagreed with me and I pushed it through.
Hmm.
And there's people that never beat Contra 4. uh, and they were frustrated by it. Even like I had friends that were like, hey man, I'm really sorry this game's too hard. I
Right.
gotta trade it in. And so I, especially a series like Contra,
Yeah.
it's got to be hard. That's the reputation. And there's people that are good at it that
Hmm.
they're going to be bummed out if it's easy.
Yeah.
But like I said, like I think Elden Ring was a turning point for From games because with Sekiro there was a lot of discussion. Is this too hard? Does that make it not accessible? And there was a big discourse about it.
Yeah.
With Elden Ring, they added a ton of the size of it. You could go off and if you got
Do
stuck
whatever
over
you
here,
want. Pretty much.
there
Yeah.
was a million things for you to do.
Right. Right.
But they added stuff like I forget what they're called, but the summoning, like it's still in the spirit of the game. You could always summon human players to help.
Yeah.
Now you can summon your mimic guy or these other things, spirit
Mhm.
ashes. There you go.
Right. Right.
So it's still in the spirit of it. You don't have to use it. You could brag that you beat the game without it, and then people are like, "Oh, this guy's real. He did it without it." But it's there. The game doesn't penalize you for using it.
Yeah.
It's just there. So if you're stuck for whatever reason,
Hmm.
you can summon them. There's strategy to it. You can
Hmm.
equip a guy, make a mimic, and then re-equip your guy. So now you've got two totally different strategies going. Like it fits in what FromSoft games are,
Yeah.
but it makes it easier and more accessible, more welcoming is our word today. So
Now, with
with
that said, is this going to have co-op? No, it's going to have local co-op, but is it going to have online co-op as well?
it has local co-op, and the game does get more challenging the more players there are,
Oh,
but not to a
wow.
degree that it's now harder. Like it's always going to
Right.
be easier with a buddy or up to 3 buddies, so 4 players.
Yeah.
but then looking at the welcomingness and the difficulty of it, we do have features that there's things you can equip that make it a little bit easier. There's different modes you can set. You can set it to have a life bar. You can set it to not have a life bar and just be one-hit kills. So, and that's all going to show up when you beat the game. So if you're doing your screenshot, here's my results, Twitter, like, look at it. I beat this game. People can tell, like, how hardcore. Like, oh, this guy did it. He didn't get hit once. He was playing on that mode. He didn't do this stuff, whatever. Or they'll see it, and you're like, yeah, but I beat it. Or I beat it this quick, or whatever. So we wanted to welcome all players. Everyone can beat the game on their own terms, and then hopefully keep playing, and then show off, like, oh, I beat it on this harder mode now because I got better and I wanted to.
This is bringing back the old school challenge.
Yes.
Who gets the highest score? Who gets the reaches? You want to bring back, and I respect that, and I do respect that because we just saw what was it? Little Big Scotty who just beat Tetris.
Yeah.
Kind of brought that old feeling back. And I don't think he did a Billy Mitchell, so we don't have to worry about that for a second. But it brought back that feeling of keep reaching, keep playing, keep reaching for the top.
Exactly.
I respect that.
Exactly.
So there is also this new ideology that's going around on social media within the gaming community right now, where some gamers feel that the best game experience consists of the highest resolution or frame rate possible. But WayForward and Nintendo, to their respect, especially, have proven that retro games, and I will give credit to a lot of other indie game developers as well that are out here that are doing retro gaming development, have proven that it doesn't consist of 4K graphics or 60 frames per second just to be fun, and it doesn't mean that it can't be enjoyable. Some of them are even arguably more enjoyable than some AAA games today. Where's your view on this? Where's your perspective on this?
Well, the core is the gameplay. Like, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Like at space level, just moving around. In Contra's case, shooting, aiming. That's got to be fun.
Yeah.
And then you want to build a compelling game with really cool boss fights. Like, it's all gameplay. And then, of course, you want to make it look as pretty as possible.
Right.
Which is, with Contra, we pushed the team. We've done some cool stuff that I think people might be surprised coming from WayForward, but we wanted to really show off for Contra because it's this high octane series, right?
Yeah.
But if the gameplay isn't solid, none of that really matters.
That was my point.
No one's gonna want to see all the prettiness if it's
that was my total point. And I think the younger generation, or demos, if you will. I don't want to, I'm aging myself, but it is what it is. I'm a grown folk gamer. But the fact of the matter is, it's like I grew up. My first game was Pong. That's the Paleolithic era of gaming. Okay. So you can't tell me anything. I went through the whole entire art history of video games to this point, and I've realized that I could go back to Super Mario Brothers, which is to me the Egyptian era of video gaming, and still enjoy that game. Still enjoy everything about that game, and then still go to God of War and all these other games and still enjoy that. It's just like you said, it all comes down to the core gameplay of it. So kids, please.
I used to joke when the kid comes up and says, "Hey, Dad, can I have the new Zelda?" You hand him an NES cart, and you go, "When you get there, yeah, you can have it when you get there."
There you go, exactly. So, as far as Contra goes, is this just a one-off, possibly, or is there any possible planning of this being an ongoing series?
Well, that's up to Konami and everyone who buys the game. So, but I think again, with Konami really wanted to start over from the beginning to get the storyline. Well, the Contra storyline was a little bit muddled because the different territories had different stories, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to go, we got to establish what the storyline is. It's this.
Yeah.
And we're starting back at the beginning. But I think that gives us room, if it's popular and people like it, then we can keep building, move on into the future of Contra and see where that gets us. So everyone buy the game, and then I'll be talking to you again soon in the future, I hope.
Hey, I look forward to it. In your opinion, from your experience, what is the best or most exciting thing to look forward to in this game?
The most exciting thing to look forward to, the bosses. We worked really hard on the bosses. They got to be scary and cool and difficult and cool spectacles for the graphics and stuff. So yeah, look forward to some crazy boss fights.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tom. I got one more question for you, and it's just a simple one, but I just want to give you a big thank you, and thank you to WayForward to making this happen. As always, love these guys. You guys have been really great to me on this show, and I'm always excited for the next game to come out by WayForward. So, all there is to ask, I know it's coming out this year, but can you give a hint on when we may be able to get our hands on it?
Thanks so much. Let's see, what can I say? Soon. You'll know. You'll know soon. I hope.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Q2, Q1, Q2.
It's early 2024. So it'll. I mean, we're in 2024 now.
Raging.
So it'll be sooner than not.
Good. We'll settle for that. But nonetheless, we're looking forward to it, and I can't wait. And if this is going to be on every console, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it's on Switch, both PlayStations, Xbox Series, and Steam.
Steam, of course. So, Tom, thank you so very much. Right now, just want to give you the opportunity to plug your outlets and WayForward and whatever projects you got coming up next. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky as at Hypnocrit. You can follow the Contra stuff on Twitter at Contra Soldier or the WayForward channel. They'll both post any upcoming news, like your release date when it's available.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just that's my main game. So yeah, any other WayForward stuff that looks good, everyone buy it or pre-order it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tom, so much. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to playing this game, reviewing this game, and continuing the path of WayForward from there.
Thanks so much.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed this very special episode of Talk Time Live Exclusive. That'll do it for us. On behalf of myself and Tomm Hulett, all I got to say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. Take care and keep it retro.